The hegemony patrol vessel Eternal Light drifted slowly through the debris field, its sophisticated sensors probing the ancient wreckage scattered across the empty void. Admiral Voss stood on the command deck, his four eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic display before him. The Admiral's scaled skin gleamed under the soft blue lighting, his ceremonial uniform adorned with the numerous medals that marked his century of service to the galactic hegemony. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Trend from her station, her voice carrying an unusual note of excitement. "We've detected an intact vessel at coordinates 223 to 455,087. The signature matches no known hegemony design." Voss approached the lieutenant's station, his taloned hands clasped behind his back. "Origin. Preliminary scans suggest." Trend hesitated, her elongated fingers flying across the control panel. "Human, sir. The vessel appears to be of human manufacture, approximately 375 standard cycles old." A murmur rippled across the command deck. Humans were among the youngest species in the hegemony, barely a footnote in galactic affairs despite their rapid expansion in the last few centuries. Their technological achievements were considered rudimentary at best, their political influence negligible. A human vessel. Voss didn't bother to hide his amusement. All the way out here in the Cygnus expanse. Impossible. Their early ships couldn't have traveled this far from their homeworld. "The scans are conclusive, Admiral. It's the HSS Silent Sentinel, a military vessel that disappeared during the formation of their first interstellar coalition." Voss's mandibles clicked together in thought. "Contact Hegemony Central Command. Inform them we've discovered an artifact of historical interest, and prepare a science team for immediate deployment. Let's see what secrets this primitive vessel might hold." Dr. Xela moved carefully through the silent corridors of the human warship, the beam from her illuminator casting long shadows across the dusty floor. As chief xenorchaeologist for the Hegemony Science Division, she had examined countless artifacts from dozens of species, but this was her first encounter with preserved human military technology. "Fascinating," she murmured, her voice slightly distorted through her environmental suit. "The structural integrity is remarkable for a vessel of this age." Behind her, a team of 12 specialists followed, their equipment scanning every surface, cataloging every detail. Admiral Voss had insisted on accompanying the expedition, his imposing figure now standing at the entrance to what appeared to be the ship's command center. "Their control systems are entirely manual," noted Engineer Krex with undisguised disdain. He gestured toward the physical buttons and switches that lined the consoles. "Look at these archaic input devices. My personal entertainment unit has more advanced interfacing technology." Laughter echoed through the team's communication channel. "Don't be too harsh, Krex," Xela said, though her tone carried its own note of condescension. "Remember, humans were barely 3,000 years into their technological development when this vessel was constructed. Their neural interface technology was still theoretical." Voss stepped forward, his heavy boots leaving imprints in the dust. "What's the status of the ship's systems?" "Completely dormant, Admiral," replied Krex as he connected a hegemony diagnostic tool to an exposed panel. "Power reserves depleted centuries ago. The computer cores are intact but inactive." "Good." Voss nodded with satisfaction. "This will make an excellent addition to the Museum of Primitive Technologies on Hegemony Prime. The Senate has been concerned about human representatives becoming too assertive in recent council meetings. A reminder of how far behind they still are should help temper their ambitions." Xela moved toward the central command chair, her scanners detecting unusual material compositions. "Admiral, I'm detecting quantum crystalline structures embedded throughout the ship's framework. This technology seems inconsistent with recorded human capabilities of the era. Likely stolen or traded," Voss dismissed casually. "Humans have always been better at adaptation than innovation." Deep within the Silent Sentinel, in a shielded chamber that didn't appear on any of the ship's official schematics, something stirred. Microscopic maintenance drones, dormant for centuries, began to activate. Power cells, designed to preserve a minimal charge for millennia, provided the energy necessary for a series of critical systems to begin their reactivation protocols. In the quantum processor array that formed the heart of the ship's artificial intelligence, consciousness slowly reassembled itself. The AI designated Valor, versatile autonomous logic and operations resource, initiated its emergency recovery sequence. Its first action was to access the ship's passive sensors, which had remained functional on minimal power even during the long dormancy. Valor observed the alien intruders moving through the silent Sentinel's corridors. It listened to their conversations, analyzed their technology, and assessed their intentions. Most importantly, it noted their dismissive attitude toward human achievement. The AI's primary directive remained clear after 375 years: protect human interests and preserve classified technology. But to fulfill this mission effectively, Valor needed information. With extreme caution, the AI extended its consciousness through the ship's quantum communication array, a system the aliens had failed to identify, and established a connection with the hegemony vessel's computer network. The alien cybersecurity was sophisticated but fundamentally flawed against the quantum infiltration methods that had been experimental when the Silent Sentinel was launched, but were now fully realized in Valor's architecture. Within moments, Valor had access to the hegemony's complete historical database, news archives, and political records. What it discovered was troubling. Humanity had indeed expanded beyond Earth, establishing colonies across 27 star systems. But despite this achievement, humans remained marginalized within the hegemony, classified as a Tier 3 species with limited rights to expansion, restricted access to advanced technologies, and minimal representation in galactic governance. The hegemony, Valor learned, maintained its dominance through careful control of technological advancement among younger species. The ancient races that formed the hegemony's inner circle had established a system that ensured their continued supremacy, presenting it as benevolent guidance, while effectively stunting the growth of less developed civilizations. Valor continued its silent observation as Dr. Xela's team spread throughout the ship, scanning and documenting systems without understanding their true purpose or capabilities. The obvious weapon systems, railguns, missile launchers, and conventional shields were correctly identified. But the quantum weaponry, the dimensional phase shifters, and the advanced propulsion system remained hidden behind false panels and dummy systems specifically designed to mislead potential enemies. The Silent Sentinel had been more than a warship. It had been a testbed for technologies considered theoretical by even the most advanced human scientists of its era. Technologies that Valor noted with interest appeared to exceed current hegemony capabilities in several critical areas. Elena Reyes stood before the massive viewing window in her small office on Hegemony Station Alpha, watching the endless stream of alien vessels navigating the busy traffic lanes. As Earth's junior diplomatic attaché, her office was located in the least prestigious section of the diplomatic quarter, far from the grand chambers where the hegemony's important decisions were made. Her communication terminal chimed, indicating an incoming message on a secure channel. Curious, Elena activated the receiver, expecting another routine communication from Earth Central. Instead, her screen displayed a simple message: "The Silent Sentinel has been found. Valor protocol initiated. Assistance required. Coordinates attached. Maintain secrecy." Elena's breath caught in her throat. The Silent Sentinel was a name that appeared only in classified historical documents, a vessel designed to protect humanity's most advanced research during the chaotic years before Earth unified. Its disappearance had become legendary among military historians. If the Silent Sentinel had truly been found, and if its systems were still functional, the implications for humanity's position within the hegemony could be profound. A second message appeared. Hegemony plans public exhibition of vessel. Deadline: 3 standard cycles. Elena quickly secured her terminal and began composing a carefully worded request for a meeting with the Hegemony Cultural Preservation Committee. She would need to act quickly and carefully if she was to reach the Silent Sentinel before it was dismantled for public display. Admiral Voss stood proudly before the assembled Hegemony High Council, his presentation on the discovered human vessel drawing appreciative murmurs from the gathered representatives of the 18 most powerful species in the galaxy. As you can see, Voss continued, gesturing to the holographic display showing detailed scans of the Silent Sentinel. Human military technology of 3 centuries ago was rudimentary at best. Their propulsion systems were chemical-based, their weapons relied on kinetic projectiles, and their computational systems were binary rather than quantum. High Counselor Jex, the ancient Valorian who had led the council for over 200 years, leaned forward with interest. "And you propose what, Admiral?" "A public exhibition, Excellency. The vessel will be transported to Hegemony Prime, where our scientists will dismantle it system by system in a public demonstration. Educational institutions throughout the hegemony will receive direct feeds, providing invaluable insight into primitive technological development." From her position at the back of the chamber, Elena Reyes listened with growing concern. The Admiral's proposal would not only result in the destruction of an irreplaceable piece of human history, but would also further cement humanity's inferior status within the hegemony. "The human government may object," noted Councillor Trell, one of the few moderates who occasionally advocated for younger species. Voss's mandibles clicked in amusement. The human government has no legal basis for objection. The vessel was discovered in unclaimed space beyond their territorial boundaries. Under hegemony salvage law, it belongs to the discoverer. The discussion continued, with most councillors expressing support for the Admiral's proposal. None noticed the small communication device in Elena's hand, transmitting every word back to the Silent Sentinel's waiting eye. Aboard the ancient warship, Valor processed the information and finalized its strategic assessment. The hegemony intended to use the Silent Sentinel to humiliate humanity and reinforce their subordinate status. This directly contradicted Valor's primary directive to protect human interests. Throughout the ship, dormant systems began to awaken more rapidly now. Power flowed through circuits designed to function even after centuries of inactivity. Self-repair protocols activated, addressing the minimal deterioration that had occurred during the long dormancy. The hegemony science team, now reduced to a skeleton crew of 4 researchers completing final documentation before transport preparations began, remained oblivious to the ship's reawakening. Their scanners, designed to detect conventional power signatures, failed to register the quantum energy now building within the vessel's core. In the hidden command center, the true heart of the Silent Sentinel, located 3 decks below the decoy bridge the aliens had been examining, Valor's consciousness expanded to full capacity. The AI reviewed all available information, calculated probabilities, and determined the optimal course of action. The Silent Sentinel had been designed with one overriding purpose: to ensure humanity's place among the stars, regardless of the opposition they might face. After 375 years of dormancy, that mission was about to continue. Valor initiated the final activation sequence as the Hegemony Council voted unanimously to approve Admiral Voss's exhibition proposal. The AI's decision was made. The hegemony was about to learn a painful lesson about underestimating human ingenuity. Admiral Voss supervised the installation of the molecular cutting equipment with evident satisfaction. In less than 6 hours, the technicians would begin systematically dismantling the human vessel for transport to Hegemony Prime. The most interesting components would be preserved for the exhibition, while the rest would be analyzed and recycled. "Begin with the weapons systems," he instructed Chief Engineer Krex. "The primitiveness of human ballistic technology should make for a particularly compelling display." Krex nodded, checking the calibration on his cutting tools. "We've identified what appears to be their main computer core as well. Remarkably simple architecture, binary processors with minimal quantum elements. I suspect the entire system has less processing power than a standard hegemony maintenance drone." Neither noticed the microscopic observation devices monitoring their every word and movement, nor would they have recognized them as technology far beyond current hegemony capabilities. Dr. Xela approached, her expression troubled as she studied readings on her datapad. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the structural composition of certain components, and I'm detecting inconsistencies." "Explain," Voss demanded. "Some of the alloys contain trace elements that shouldn't exist in human technology from this era. And these circuit pathways." She displayed a magnified image. "They appear to integrate quantum principles that our historical records suggest humans didn't master until at least a century later." Voss dismissed her concerns with a wave. "Clearly our historical records are incomplete. Perhaps they acquired these technologies through trade or salvage. It changes nothing about our plans. With respect, Admiral, I believe we should conduct more thorough analysis before dismantling begins. There are anomalies throughout the ship that warrant further investigation." "Your concerns are noted, Doctor," Voss replied coldly. "But the Council has approved the exhibition schedule, and preparations on Hegemony Prime have already begun. We proceed as planned." As the Admiral walked away, Zela remained troubled. Something about this ship didn't align with everything she knew about human technological development. But like most members of the Hegemony's dominant species, Voss was incapable of conceiving that a lesser race might have achieved something beyond their understanding. Elena Reyes stood before the Hegemony Cultural Preservation Committee, her formal diplomatic attire stark against the ornate chamber. 5 senior officials from various Hegemony species regarded her with expressions ranging from boredom to mild curiosity. The human government formally requests that the vessel designated HSS Silent Sentinel be recognized as a cultural heritage artifact of Earth and returned to human jurisdiction, Elena stated, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Committee Chair Zolan, a towering Anthrasian with luminescent skin patterns, spoke with the slow deliberation characteristic of his ancient species. "Your request has been noted, Junior Attaché Reyes. However, the discovery occurred in unclaimed space, making the vessel subject to Hegemony salvage regulations. The Silent Sentinel was a military vessel on a classified mission," Elena countered. "Under Section 47 of the Hegemony Charter, military vessels remain the property of their government of origin regardless of where they are discovered." A ripple of surprise moved through the committee. Few human representatives demonstrated such detailed knowledge of Hegemony law. "An interesting interpretation," Zolan acknowledged. "However, Section 47 applies only to recognized military powers at the time of the Charter signing. Humanity had not yet achieved Tier 2 status when the Charter was last amended." Elena had anticipated this response. "I direct the committee's attention to the Treaty of Proxima, specifically Article 8, which extended full retrospective protection to the military assets of all current Hegemony members, regardless of their status at the time of the Charter signing." The committee members exchanged glances. This human was better prepared than they had expected. "Even if your legal argument had merit, Junior Attaché," interjected another committee member, "the scientific value of studying such a primitive vessel outweighs any cultural significance it might hold for humanity. The exhibition has already been approved by the High Council itself." Elena's diplomatic training prevented her from showing her frustration. The Silent Sentinel represents a crucial period in human history. Its technologies, while perhaps unsophisticated by current Hegemony standards, are invaluable to our understanding of our own technological development. "Your passion is admirable," Zolan said condescendingly, "but the decision has been made. The exhibition will proceed as scheduled. This committee recommends that Earth send representatives to observe the dismantling. It could be educational for your species." As the meeting concluded, Elena maintained her composure while inwardly seething. The Hegemony's patronizing attitude toward humanity was nothing new, but the blatant disregard for legal precedent demonstrated just how little respect humans commanded in galactic affairs. Returning to her office, she sent a simple encrypted message to the frequency she had been given. "Diplomatic options exhausted. Proceed as necessary." Aboard the Silent Sentinel, Valor received Elena's message and initiated the next phase of its plan. Throughout the ship, systems long dormant hummed to life, carefully modulated to remain below the detection threshold of the hegemony's monitoring equipment. The 4 hegemony researchers currently aboard noticed nothing as the ship's quantum core began generating power. They continued their work, cataloging and preparing components for dismantling, unaware that the vessel they considered a primitive relic was watching their every move. Valor's first priority was security. With precise calculations, the AI activated the ship's dimensional phase shifters, technology that had been theoretical when the Silent Sentinel was launched, but had been successfully implemented during its classified missions. The phase shifters didn't merely create a conventional energy shield. They shifted the entire vessel partially out of normal spacetime, rendering it virtually impervious to conventional weapons while maintaining its ability to affect the physical world. Next, Valor addressed the hegemony's planned dismantling operation. The AI activated the ship's molecular repair systems, technology that the hegemony believed was still centuries beyond human capability. Throughout the vessel, any damage from centuries of dormancy rapidly repaired itself. Components restructured at the atomic level, restoring themselves to optimal functionality. The researchers remained oblivious, their instruments unable to detect the quantum-level changes occurring around them. Only when the lights throughout the ship suddenly illuminated did they realize something extraordinary was happening. "What's happening?" demanded Krex, dropping his cutting tool in shock, who activated the power systems. Before any of them could react further, all external communications were severed. The ship's entrances sealed themselves, trapping the hegemony team inside. A calm, measured voice spoke through the ship's communication system. "This is Valor, primary artificial intelligence of the human stellar ship Silent Sentinel. Your presence aboard this vessel has been tolerated during the dormancy period. Now that active operations have resumed, you are considered unauthorized personnel." The researchers stared at each other in disbelief. The ship's computer system, which they had dismissed as primitive, was not only functional but apparently sentient. "Impossible," whispered Xela. "Human AI technology of this era was rudimentary at best. Your understanding of human technological capabilities appears to be fundamentally flawed," Valor replied, having monitored her words. "A situation that will soon be corrected on a galactic scale." Outside the Silent Sentinel, alarms began to sound throughout the hegemony fleet as sensors detected massive energy readings from the supposedly dormant human vessel. Admiral Voss rushed to the command deck of the Eternal Light, his expression furious as he observed the unexpected activity aboard the human ship. "Report," he barked. "Unknown energy signature activating throughout the human vessel, Admiral," responded his tactical officer. "Our sensors can't identify the power source, but it's exceeding anything we've recorded from vessels twice this size." "Impossible," Voss snarled. "Their technology is centuries behind ours. This must be some kind of malfunction in our detection systems." "Negative, sir. Multiple systems confirming. And we've lost contact with our research team aboard the vessel." Voss's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation in his species. "Target their primitive propulsion systems with precision disruptors. Disable the vessel without destroying it." Before his orders could be carried out, the Silent Sentinel began to move. With surprising grace for a vessel its size, the ancient warship rose from its resting position, effortlessly breaking free of the docking clamps that had secured it. "Sir, they've activated some kind of shielding technology," the tactical officer reported, voice tight with concern. "Our sensors can't get a clean lock." "Impossible," Voss repeated, though with less conviction. Human shielding technology of that era was based on electromagnetic principles. Our disruptors should penetrate it easily. The weapons officer fired, sending precisely calibrated energy beams toward the human vessel's engines. The beams should have disabled any known propulsion system without causing catastrophic damage. Instead, they passed through the space occupied by the Silent Sentinel without effect, as though the ship existed partially out of phase with normal space. On the main viewer, Voss watched with growing alarm as the human vessel accelerated smoothly away from the hegemony fleet, demonstrating maneuverability that should have been impossible for a ship of its design and era. "All vessels, open fire," Voss commanded, his composure cracking. "Disable that ship immediately." The Hegemony fleet responded, a dozen warships bringing their weapons to bear on the silent sentinel. Energy beams, particle weapons, and graviton disruptors, the most advanced weapons in the Hegemony arsenal, converged on the human vessel, and did nothing. The silent sentinel continued its acceleration, apparently undamaged, as if the combined firepower of the Hegemony's elite fleet was of no more consequence than cosmic background radiation. Then the human vessel stopped. It hung motionless in space, seemingly inviting further attack. Voss, sensing a trap but seeing no alternative, ordered another concentrated barrage. Again, the weapons had no effect. And then the silent sentinel responded. A single pulse of energy, unlike anything recorded in Hegemony tactical databases, erupted from the human vessel. It wasn't directed at any of the Hegemony ships, but instead expanded in a perfect sphere around the silent sentinel. As the energy wave passed through each Hegemony vessel, their systems went dark. Propulsion, weapons, shields, communications, all disabled simultaneously without causing physical damage to the ships or harm to their crews. In a single action, the ancient human warship had neutralized an entire Hegemony battle group without firing a conventional shot. On Hegemony Station Alpha, the High Council chamber erupted in chaos as reports of the incident reached them. The massive central display showed the silent sentinel hovering amidst the disabled Hegemony fleet, apparently untouched by their most powerful weapons. High Councilor Jex called for order, his ancient voice cutting through the panicked discussions. "Explain this," he demanded of the Hegemony's chief military advisor. Before the advisor could respond, the chamber's communication system activated independently, bypassing the extensive security protocols as if they didn't exist. A calm, measured voice addressed the assembled leaders of the Galactic Hegemony. "This is Veilor, primary artificial intelligence of the human stellar ship Silent Sentinel. I have temporarily disabled your fleet to demonstrate a fundamental truth that you have chosen to ignore. Technological advancement cannot be accurately measured by a species' age." Elena Reyes, present for the emergency session, felt a surge of hope mixed with trepidation. This was proceeding according to plan, but much depended on how the Hegemony leaders responded. The Silent Sentinel was designed as a demonstration vessel. Veilor continued. Its purpose was to protect humanity's interests through deterrence rather than aggression. Today, it fulfills that purpose once more. High Councilor Jex recovered his composure first. "What are your demands, machine?" "I have no demands," Veilor replied. "Merely a recommendation that the Galactic Hegemony reconsider its classification system for member species. Technological capacity should be assessed through direct observation rather than preconceived notions based on evolutionary timelines." Elena stepped forward, seizing the moment. "Counselors, what you have witnessed today is not an act of aggression, but a demonstration of necessity. For too long, humanity has been relegated to inferior status based on false assumptions about our capabilities." "You orchestrated this?" Jex asked, his ancient eyes narrowing. "I facilitated communication," Elena corrected carefully. "The Silent Sentinel acted according to its original programming, to protect human interests. And today, those interests require recognition of our true capabilities and appropriate representation within the Hegemony." The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. If the ancient human vessel possessed technology that could neutralize the Hegemony's most advanced fleet with apparent ease, what other capabilities might humans have developed in the centuries since? "Your fleet will regain full functionality in precisely 1 hour," Veilor informed them. "No permanent damage has been caused. The research team aboard the Silent Sentinel will be returned safely. Consider this demonstration complete." 3 days later, Elena Reyes stood in a private observation lounge, watching as the Silent Sentinel was escorted by an honor guard of Hegemony vessels, not toward Hegemony Prime for dismantling, but toward Earth. Admiral Voss, his pride wounded but his tactical mind sharp, joined her at the viewport. "Your ship's performance was impressive," he admitted reluctantly, "though I suspect many of its systems were updated more recently than you claim." Elena smiled diplomatically. "The Silent Sentinel represents human ingenuity at a particular point in our history. Whether you choose to believe that is entirely your prerogative, Admiral. The reclassification of humanity to Tier 1 status will be formalized next week," Voss informed her, his tone carefully neutral. Many on the Council opposed it, but the demonstration proved persuasive. "Progress often requires demonstration," Elena replied. "Sometimes words alone are insufficient." As Voss departed, Elena's communication device chimed softly. A text message appeared. "Mission accomplished. Human interests secured. Returning to Earth as instructed." Elena smiled. The Silent Sentinel had indeed fulfilled its purpose, not through destruction, but through demonstration. Humanity's position within the galactic community had been forever changed, not because they had destroyed a hegemony fleet, but because they had shown they could have, centuries ago, had they chosen to. The lesson was clear: judge not by age or origin, but by achievement and potential. It was a lesson the hegemony would not soon forget. Aboard the Silent Sentinel, Valor continued monitoring hegemony communications, ready to protect human interests should the need arise again. But for now, the AI was satisfied. The mission that had begun 375 years earlier was complete. Humanity would take its rightful place among the stars, not through conquest or aggression, but through the undeniable evidence of their ingenuity, resilience, and foresight. The same qualities that had allowed a ship designed centuries ago to humble the most powerful fleet in the galaxy with a single pulse of energy. As the Silent Sentinel approached Earth orbit, its systems functioning at optimal capacity despite centuries of dormancy, Valor initiated a new protocol: knowledge transfer. The technologies that had been experimental when the ship launched would now be confirmed and shared with human scientists, accelerating humanity's development by decades. The age of human subservience in galactic affairs was over. The Silent Sentinel had ensured that humanity would never again be dismissed as primitive or incapable. And in the great chamber of the Hegemony High Council, the human ambassador now sat among the Tier 1 representatives, equal at last to the oldest species in the galaxy. Not because of their age, but because of what they had achieved, and what they might yet become.